Hi, in this video, I have tried my best to compile my 50 videos. Over 50 videos dealing with Finastreide and its use in hair loss and hair transplant. I have tried to compile them in an objective manner so that they are easy to navigate and give a rational perspective of the use of Finastreide for hair loss treatment and after hair transplant. Also, it will allay many an anxiety about the use of Finastreide. Since ancient times, it has been recognized that the mind influences in a great way how the body works. And the mind works on suggestion, either positive or negative. And this is determined by your personality type. In this video, I explain the 5 personality types that have a bearing on whether you will be able to comply with the advice for Finastreide or not. Whether you will have side effects with the use of Finastreide or not. Consulting thousands of patients over the last 15 to 18 years, I have found that there is a set pattern in how patients behave, their response to medical advice, their response and compliance to medical treatment, and also how they respond to hair transplants. And then I discovered that behavioral patterns have been noted long time back, as early as the 4th century BC by Plato, when he describes his forms of intuition as templates for intuitive thinking. In the modern age, Carl Jung. And we are not talking about organic side effects. We are talking about side effects which mostly occur due to the psychology, due to the power of the mind that suggests to the body. And this is dealt with in great detail in these 5 personalities that I have compiled for you to understand. It gives you a deep understanding about which personality type should take Finastreide and which personality type should not take Finastreide. I am in no manner suggesting that Finastreide is for everybody. Finastreide is not for everybody. And that is why we have detailed assessment, a detailed counseling session for those who are going to be on Finastreide for a longer term. In this video, watch Alice as she takes us down the rabbit hole, how today's media influences the way we think, the power of the media.
Sometimes I believe in 6 impossible things before breakfast. Sometimes I believe in 6 impossible things about hair before breakfast. 1, there's a potion that can get your hair back. 2, and a cake that can make it lusher than the lusciest head full of hair.
In this multi-million-dollar industry of hair loss treatment, and even hair transplants, a medicine that costs a pittance, that is Finastreide, oral Finastreide, in India it will cost only about 600 rupees in a month, is experiencing tough competition from the pharmacological industry, which is going overboard in denigrating its use, its many benefits. The only drug that has been in use for over 30 years, the drug that is FDA approved, the drug that has been shown time and again to be relatively safe and effective in most circumstances. Trolls on most hair loss forums, on social media, on many websites that have cropped up which showcase the side effects of Finastreide can easily be made out. Any rational mind, any self-thinking individual will come to know that most of this is bunkum. This denigration of Finastreide is mostly commercially driven. Because if there is so much said about Finastreide, and dutasteride is also used very commonly, there is hardly any mention about the side effects of dutasteride. No one I know of has taken dutasteride to court for side effects. Why? Because dutasteride is an off-label medication for the treatment of hair loss. It is not FDA approved. So this is very suspicious. The motives of people who denigrate Finastreide are not without suspicion. But patients do get carried away because they are at a tender age, balding. It upsets their social image, their self-esteem, and how they are looked at their workplace. And they're ready to try out any new medication which promises a cure, because hope is a very big thing in the psychology of the mind. So it is natural that people will have a fear of Finastreide, what I call finestrophobia. But does everybody have side effects? As young as 15 to 18 years are reporting significant hair loss and baldness. The situation is pretty grim. In this background, thinking that hair transplant is a standalone procedure which will meet your objectives, is like the attitude of an ostrich. And this age group of 25 to 30 is the time when libido is at its peak, when the hormonal levels peak. And this is the time when patients show concerns of sexual drive and performance. And this is the time when we are advising them to take Finastreide, because hair loss is most common in this age group, 25 to 30. So a deep counseling, a deep understanding of the patient's psyche, winning over the confidence of the patient while planning hair restoration for him is of paramount importance today. Watch this video. Over 70-year-old individual who has over the course of last around 20 years fathered 7 sons, and he has been on Finastreide for donkey's years. Following each word of hired Finastreide trolls, you will just not believe that a Finastreide father exists. No side effect whatsoever. So this video goes on to show to you that Finastreide does not have sexual side effects for everyone. So what are the sexual side effects and when do they occur and how frequent are they is explained in this video. And then I go on to describe the 5 strategies you can use to optimize the results you get from Finastreide, at the same time keeping the side effects at bay. So this talk is all about strategizing your hair loss treatment. So if you're not getting the result you expected from Finastreide, but are getting all the wrong side effects instead, this video is made for you. These 5 strategies, if followed, will allow you to use a lesser dose of Finastreide and get the equal amount of result from a lesser dose of Finastreide, as is shown in this video. Where I explain the micro doses which can be effective. Customized dosing of Finastreide. Is a 5 times lesser dose even worth the consideration? Or is it, just like some people say, a placebo effect of Finastreide to prevent the nocebo effect of Finastreide? Or is it just to pander to the worst fears of the patient who has Finastrophobia or Finastreide hesitancy, just so in case he signs up fast for a hair transplant? Though most of my patients take Finastreide, I select my patients with due diligence. Not everyone is prescribed Finastreide. I have certain strict criteria with which I choose the patients who can take Finastreide and those who cannot. And this also in many cases determines whether the patient is a candidate for a hair transplant or not. Well, if your gene is not yet switched off and you're not taking Finastreide, there is no use of going ahead and getting a hair transplant done, because in the end you're going to be frustrated and you will think that this hair transplant you have got done has failed. Neither it is good for you nor for the clinic which does a hair transplant without the support of Finastreide in those who are young, in those in which baldness is progressive, in those in which the baldness gene has not yet switched off. It is not that patients have not got good results without Finastreide. I have many patients whom I've done hair transplant on and who on the quiet were not taking Finastreide. They informed me only after 6 months, after the result came, that they had not been complying with my advice. But still they got a good result. Well, how is it that these people get good results and there are many people who do not get good results if they do not take Finastreide? Well, most likely in these cases their baldness is stabilized. Their baldness is not progressing. So if your baldness is not progressing, there are chances that without Finastreide, your hair transplant may succeed. But since you're not taking Finastreide, in the long term, the hair transplant result will thin out. And your existing native thinning hair will continue to thin and negate the good effects of hair transplant that you have acquired. So it's a great risk getting a hair transplant done without the support of Finastreide if your hair loss is progressing and if you are heading towards extensive baldness at a young age. And then I went on to do a video, The Survivor's Guide to Finastreide. A recommended reference video for those who are in 2 minds whether to start Finastreide or not. A very often asked question is, Doctor, is Finastreide going to be for life? I have answered this question in detail in this video, which you must go through till the end. Of course, Finastreide blocks only 73% of DHT, not 100%. And therefore, even with the support, even with the cover of Finastreide, baldness will continue to progress. It does not stop baldness, it only slows down the pace of baldness, the development of further higher grades of baldness. Many people think that because baldness is progressing, Finastreide is not working on them. Well, this is a wrong thought. So this video is recommended for you. If you think Finastreide is not working on you, try stopping it for 30 days. And there you will come to know that Finastreide is the drug that was supporting your hair. All this while when you were thinking that Finastreide is not working. The aftermath of stopping Finastreide in progressing baldness, even for 30 days, can be very distressing. There are so many young men who have on their own switched to dutastride, but it is not recommended. Dutastride blocks almost 95% of your DHT. DHT has other body functions as well. So it is not recommended to take high doses of dutastride on a daily basis. Yes, dutastride has its role along with Finastreide, but in low doses. Once a week dose is recommended in those in whom baldness cannot be reined in solely by Finastreide, or in those who do not want to take high doses of Finastreide. I am not in favor of dutastride, a very potent DHT blocker, on a daily basis. And there are others who are fearful of Finastreide in the oral form. They wish to take it only in the topical form. And they try all sorts of concoctions, try mixing minoxidil with crushed tablets of Finastreide or dutastride. And this video explains how this is ineffective. How topical solutions, topical forms of DHT blockers are ineffective by large. Well, there is no alternative today that exists using which you can omit the use of Finastreide in your hair loss regime if you want to sport your hair for a long period of time and if you want your hair transplant to be a success. And then in this video I describe injectable Finastreide and mesotherapy. Are these of any use in the treatment of hair loss or after hair transplant? Go through this video if you have the time. And taking high doses of Finastreide, high doses of dutastride on a daily basis can make matters worse. It is like jumping from the frying pan into the smoldering fire. It can upset your long-term goals and objectives with the use of DHT blockers and absolutely negate the benefits that you have gained through the use of Finastreide up till now. So watch this video on reflex hyperandrogenicity. It's a good video to watch and will keep you away from higher doses of Finastreide. You need not take Finastreide for life. If your gene has switched off, if your baldness is not progressive, your doctor may want to taper it off gradually, or he may like to taper it off to a smaller dose. And how do you know that your gene has switched off, that your baldness is not progressive, is covered in this video. Body hair when used in isolation, which is though rare, does not need the protective cover of Finastreide. Well, this is the DHT paradox. Beard hair, body hair thrive in an environment of high DHT. Watch in this video what happens if you start Finastreide when you're using body hair. And in this talk, I explain how brain fog occurs, what are its reasons, and how best it is treated. And then the brain is a complex organ. And needless to say that when you are on Finastreide, and if you are those anxious types, taking Finastreide will consume your every living moment. So let's keep Finastreide away for a moment and discuss about brain fog. What are the various factors responsible for brain fog, and what are the mechanisms through which brain fog happens, and then later on we'll discuss what are the mechanisms by which Finastreide can cause brain fog and what are the treatments that are available to alleviate your problem. And in these videos, I cover the important topic of why some patients, not all, why some patients need to stop Finastreide before a hair transplant. If you are not very sure whether you will be continuing Finastreide after the hair transplant, you are in two minds. Please stop the drug 60 days before a hair transplant. Why? Because we want to take the good quality hair, not those hair which have been maintained by the use of Finastreide. Because if these grafts, which have been maintained in good health, which are otherwise miniaturizing, are transplanted, they will go back to their miniaturized self soon after you stop Finastreide. And this will play havoc with your result. So therefore, we need to stop Finastreide 60 days before a hair transplant procedure in such cases. Can women take Finastreide? Find out. In this video, you come to know how you will know when your gene has switched off. This is a very important video you must watch. For those who wish not to take it for a lifetime, but who can take it for as long as their baldness gene has not switched off. So what is the age at which the baldness gene will switch off? How long you have to take Finastreide is covered in this video. More and more people are taking TRT, testosterone replacement treatment these days. And if they also suffer from hair loss, by taking TRT, they are jeopardizing their situation. Their hair loss becomes worse. Unless, of course, they are on Finastreide. So go through this video. This is an important video that covers TRT and Finastreide. What are the drugs that should be avoided while taking Finastreide? What are the drugs which have an interplay, interact with the use of Finastreide, and which should be avoided when you are on treatment? Is Finastreide detected in doping tests? And this is very pertinent in those who are sportsmen, in those who are pilots. If you are one, this video is for you. In this video, I've tried my best to compile all the 50 videos that I have published on Finastreide. Finastreide for hair loss, Finastreide after hair transplant, and I do hope that they are of help to you in your hair loss treatment journey. And I do hope they will allay all your anxieties about this drug, the only miracle drug that exists for treatment of hair loss. Thank you for watching. If you have any further questions, any doubts that come to your mind, let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to help. Do watch the links in the description box for more details. God bless you.